Okay, so as I pointed out in the last video, the first issue wasn't exactly a stellar start to the series, but it had some good points in that a few of the jokes were actually funny, and they did put in some nice nods to the games here and there. And postulated that maybe the writers and artists were still getting their feet wet, and that the quality of the comic would only improve from the first issue. I was wrong. Issue number 2's cover is much more focused than the first issue, but consequently comes off as a bit more boring. It's just a wanted poster of Sonic in the background against a brick wall while Robotnik stands near the bottom of the cover, urging the reader to join Robotnik's rats. We squeal for real. You know, back when this comic was first published, I could totally see that becoming a thing. The 90s, man, it was a different era. We open to Robotnik tossing darts at a Sonic brand dartboard, and with the piñata opening from the last issue, I'm sensing a bit of a pattern here. He's once again plotting to destroy Sonic, and we get our title of the first story in the issue. Triple Trouble! Nope, sorry, not only does this issue have nothing to do with the Game Gear game, but there is no sign of Knack the Weasel anywhere in here. Besides, Triple Trouble wasn't even out at the time of this issue. Anyway, the story starts with Crabmeat begging Robotnik to let him assist in destroying Sonic. Robotnik, having read the previous issue and the miniseries, says no because Crabmeat has failed him too many times, but he does give him the distinct honor of being the first victim of his brand new badnik, coconuts. He's sporting his adventures look. Wait, does that mean... Oh, come on, this entire story is just going to be Adventures Light, isn't it? Don't get me wrong, I enjoy Adventures, but one of the reasons I like it is the over-the-top cartoonish slapstick, which is something that's rather difficult to translate into comic format, as we'll soon see. Robotnik tells Coconuts to go out and destroy Sonic. We cut to Sonic and Tails running. Just running. No real reason given why. That's just what they do in this issue. Their run is interrupted, however, when something explodes in front of them. Sonic and Tails don't have time to dwell on what happened, as more explosive coconuts are lobbed in their direction, as Coconuts the robot makes his presence known. Sonic and Tails spend some time dodging his shots, while the robot taunts them a little bit. This continues until Sonic remembers playing Monkey in the Middle when he was younger, knocks Coconuts out of his tree, and he and Tails start passing the bomb back and forth between each other. Let's ignore for the moment the fact that any one of these passes, and indeed the impacts of the bomb being smacked back and forth, should be enough to set it off given how the other bombs exploded, and just jump right to the fact that, like all gullible morons in a Coyote and Roadrunner situation, Coconuts tries to get his bomb back. Sonic obliges. We cut back to Robotnik receiving a package, mistaking it for a present. Don't ask me how there's still mailmen in this world, I'm not one to question it. The package, of course, contains the remains of Coconuts after he was blown to bits. Robotnik says he failed, and then we close out part 1 on two silhouettes saying that they won't fail. Who are these mysterious... Okay, I'm not even going to try figuring out a joke for this. It's Scratch and Grounder from Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Wait a second. The first part was about Coconuts trying to defeat Sonic. And now these two. The title not only doesn't have anything to do with the Game Gear title, it's also pretty much a lie. Triple Trouble suggests that the trio would work together to attack Sonic, but instead, Coconuts is introduced as a solo operator, while Scratch and Grounder work as a duo. There's nothing triple about this story. The two head off in search of Sonic, of course, following a trench left behind by his super speed. There's almost a full 2 pages of just the two trying to track down Sonic, shouting quips at one another that aren't nearly as funny or as charming as the dialogue that they have in the show, and depending on who you are, well, that's already a pretty low bar. We get even more strangeness when we get this weird panel after Sonic tells Tails to go back to Knothole on his own. You can choose Sonic's response. Is this a choose-your-own-adventure book all of a sudden? There is absolutely no point to this, and it's never mentioned again anywhere else in the comic, despite several more jabs at the fourth wall being made. It just seems incredibly out of place, and it doesn't have anything to do with anything. Scratch and Grounder follow the ditch, now revealed to be a false trail left by Sonic, to the edge of a cliff. Sonic performs a buzzsaw spin, severing the edge of the cliff and sending the both of them to the ground. Scratch, of course, takes the full brunt of the force, though Grounder surprisingly activates parachutes. Something I don't think he ever did in the cartoon. Grounder once again shows off a certain level of usefulness by launching a lasso from his arm, catching Sonic around the neck. Scratch pulls him down to the bottom of the cliff, and of course the two start arguing about who it was that captured Sonic, despite having him at their mercy. Yeah, this was pretty much their shtick in the show as well, but here it's much more annoying even without their voices. Sonic takes this as an opportunity to take them out, running circles around them and creating a deep circular trench. Predictably, it collapses inward, burying the two badniks up to their necks, as Sonic speeds off triumphantly. But not before calling up Robotnik on Grounder's arm phones to let him know that he defeated his new robots. And hey, I didn't even have to add in the voice clip this time, they threw it in all on their own. And so our story ends with Sonic dashing off. Whoopee. This story frustrates me. It's obviously meant to be a take on Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, basically just an episode of the show, but boiled down to its very bare essentials. And it doesn't work. Adventures had a certain level of charm to it because of its fast-paced slapstick and the outlandishness of its plots. Not to mention, Robotnik in that show was a big part of it, and in my mind is one of the best comedic villains. Here, the humor comes from a bunch of puns, which I normally wouldn't mind that much, but here they're thrown at the reader with such frequency, it quickly loses any sort of comedic impact it could have had. And with a limited page count for this story, obviously they aren't going to be able to recreate the same sort of feel that the show manages to invoke. And they don't. They really, really don't. But once again, we're not done with the issue yet, so let's move on to a page that is nothing but puns on the words that rhyme with Sonic. They're all stupid and dumb, and I kinda like them, even if ultimately it means nothing. So let's move on to the second story for the issue, which surprisingly is not split into multiple parts this time. Instead, it's a short backup story called Vertigo-a-Go-Go. Just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? And hey, it starts off promisingly enough with Sonic running around and collecting power rings. He stops in front of a large group of them, gets launched into the air by a hidden spring, and gets sucked into a hole in the sky? Okay, comic, I'll play along, so where does he end up? The Flying Battery Zone? The Special Zone? Sandopolis Zone? No, he ends up in some sort of nameless dimension where the physics are all messed up. And it is here we meet... oh geez. These two.
The name's Vertical. Call me Cal. And I'm Horizontal. Call me Al.
I hate you both already. The next 3 pages have literally nothing happening. It's just Sonic getting tossed around the zone while Al and Cal follow him around, saying stupid things and making puns about physics and gravity and stuff with minimalist backgrounds of different shapes and colors passing us by. The whole thing just reeks of laziness in terms of the artwork, and there's even a panel here where I think they forgot to color Sonic in. Sure, it might be intentional given the nature of the story, but it's really hard to tell. Anyway, Sonic finally puts 2 and 2 together and figures that this must have been an unknown zone that he was warped to from grabbing all those power rings. Al and Cal scold him for messing around with magical rings, and then Sonic starts falling for some reason. And then smashes into the ground outside of the unknown zone right next to Antoine, dropping a bunch of power rings in the process. He asks what's up, putting emphasis on the word up for no discernible reason, and then Sonic begins to chase him around, snarling. And the comic ends with Al and Cal telling us to write in and say that we want to see them more. The only problem with that is I don't want to, and I guess no one else wanted to at the time either because the 2 of them didn't show up in the book again until issue 59, and, well, we'll get to that when we get there. This entire story was pointless and comes off as incredibly lazy in the art department, with Sonic constantly looking like he was drawn really stiffly. Al and Cal have very boring, very simple designs, and of course let's not forget the fact that not a single background was used beyond the first and last pages of the story. What's worse is Antoine only shows up at the end of the story in what basically amounts to a cameo appearance, and he is the only SatAM character to appear in the entire issue. And let me remind you that this comic is supposed to be a tie-in with the Saturday morning cartoon show, not the weekday show. This whole thing is incredibly disappointing, and the issue almost feels more like a pilot issue for the full series, rather than being the second issue of the ongoing. You want to know what's really disappointing, though? I remember reading a rumor and I can't remember if it was confirmed or not, that back when the book started, no one, not even the creative team, expected the book to last more than 25 issues. Which is why a lot of the early stuff is of such uneven quality, even for a kid's comic. No one cared enough to actually try. Obviously, that was just a rumor, and the book has done much better than that, and hopefully the third issue will be able to show us why it managed to defy the rumor's expectations. So I'll see you all there.